Hey guys, this is the first of the community group videos that we're going to be making available to you on the GCF YouTube channel for you to use in your community groups this fall. There are two ways that you can use these videos. First of all, group leaders, you can just use them at some point in time on the day of your group meeting or the day before your group meeting, just as kind of a refresher on the main theme of the sermon and where we went with the sermon topic on Sunday. And each of these videos will also contain jumping off questions that you can use to prompt discussion with your group. The second way you can use these is to just show the video to your group so that they're a part of the sermon recap too. That way, if they miss church, they'll have 3-4 minutes of information about the sermon and the main theme, and then they'll just get to hear the jumping off questions that you're going to ask as a part of the video. So just want to say, if I am talking to a whole group out there and you're watching me right now, hi groupies, glad you have joined your group. So a few Sundays ago, we finished up three-week message series called Groupies. And if you think about a stool that has 3 legs, if you remove any one of those legs, the stool is not really so useful. And we talked about sort of 3 legs that are a part of the community group stool. In other words, if a group is going to help its members grow into the image of Jesus and grow into likeness to Jesus and become more like him, what 3 legs does that stool have to accomplish that? And so the first of the 3 that we talked about in that groupie series was truth. And so as Christians, we always say that the ultimate truth is Jesus. There is no truth that is greater than the person of Jesus. But we also know that there are lots of sort of arrows that point us to Jesus. And the absolute biggest arrow that points us to Jesus is the Bible. There's just nothing that is bigger or more important in helping us know who Jesus is, in helping us become like him than the Bible. It's just this huge blinking arrow to Jesus. And so we say that truth, not just Jesus, but the Bible is really central. It's one of those legs of our community group ministry, because we just can't really know Jesus all that well if we don't have that one biggest sort of flashing neon arrow pointing us to him. So each week there's a part of our group meetings that on a pretty regular basis is going to be looking at the sermon, and a part of it with the text, the biblical passage that we used for that sermon on Sunday. Now, one of the things that can happen in these Bible discussions is sometimes the questions can be just sort of like really rote questions. So one of the questions, the kind of question we don't want to ask you as a jumping off question is, say, if you're looking at the story of David and Goliath, we don't want to ask the question, okay, now we read those 5 verses. So somebody tell us, who was it that David killed? What was the name of that giant? Or worse yet, now, who was that giant fighting for? Likewise, we don't want to ask a more complicated question, like if we're looking at Romans 5, we don't want to have our Bible discussion focused around the kind of question where we might say, okay, so what does this passage in Romans chapter 5 teach us about justification by faith? So instead of our jumping off questions pertaining to the truth we're talking about, being sort of those rote questions like that, we want them to be questions, and are working hard for them every week to be the kind of questions that help you apply the main themes of the message from Sunday and the Bible passages for Sunday to your life, and to help you talk about how that's applying to you in a really, really practical way. And that brings us to the second leg of this community group stool that we talked about, which is vulnerability. And really, guys and gals, for community groups to be a really important part of transforming us into the image of Jesus, making us more like him, everybody who's in a group has to share openly and honestly. So here's the thing. If you come to your group on a Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, whatever it is, and you yelled at your kids and you had sort of like a big blow up with your kids that morning, don't come to the group and talk about how well your kid did in the soccer tournament this past Saturday. I mean, you can share that kind of stuff, but if it's really on your heart and it really messed with your spiritual life and your emotions during the day that you had a blow up with your kids that morning, then be honest with you, be vulnerable, and tell them that's what happened that morning, and that's kind of the condition that you are in. And vulnerability not only means that we have to share openly and honestly with our groups, but vulnerability also means that we have to be able to receive help from our groups. So, if you go into your group and you say, well, I hate my job, I've been hating it for 3 months, and I'm just going to go in and quit tomorrow, You need to be able to receive advice from someone else in the group who might say, Jack, why don't you take a week to think about that? That's really a rash decision. So vulnerability sort of works both ways. You have to be able to share honestly and openly about your life, but you also have to be able to receive the love and the care and the kindness and even the advice that your group members may give you back in response to those things. And so those are the first two. The first leg is truth. The second leg is vulnerability. The third leg of this stool is leadership. And so every group needs leaders who are going to care for that group and who are going to shepherd that group. We talked in the third series in this message about leadership having this meaning that leaders are people who go first at being last. They're people who lay their lives down for the well-being of others. And we ask our group leaders to do that. They make space in their homes for you, but we also know that successful groups have to have leaders who, when somebody doesn't show up to the group meeting, they call that person afterwards, and they make sure that another member of the group is going to check on that person. A group leader has to be the person who, if somebody in the group is sick and they find out about it, they arrange for meals to be taken to that person and make sure those folks don't drop through the cracks. So the third leg of the community group stool is leadership. We need leaders who will go first at being last for the people who are in their group. But in Christianity, when we say that being a leader means being first at going last, that sort of means that we all have a leadership responsibility, right? Because all of us can go first at being last. So I want to challenge you as group members to think also about how you can go first at being last. Maybe you're the person who notices somebody's missing from the group. You take it upon yourself to call them or to point out that they've been missing for a while. If you know that somebody in the group is sick and they need some meals, you be the one who goes first at being last and coordinate that. If there's like a couple in your group that they've got 5 kids, 6 kids, 15 kids, and they're just always pulling their hair out, maybe you can go first at being last by saying, hey, can we arrange some childcare for them so they can just have some time out of the house and away from their kids. So again, the thing is your group leaders are there to go first at being last for you, but if leadership is about going first at being last, then all of us can practice leadership. So now, this is a little bit longer than the normal video will be because we're recapping 3 sermons for this week. But here are a few jumping off questions for your first meeting. And the first question is just kind of an icebreaker question because there may be some new people in your group. Maybe your group is new and you don't know each other all that well. So you can start out with this question. Have everybody in your group, you just go ahead and share around the circle, where are you from? And what is your favorite thing about your hometown or the town that you grew up in? Now, if there's a military brat in your group, go ahead and tell them to choose their favorite place that they grew up in and talk to you about something that made that their favorite place. Second question, a little more serious. What hopes or goals do you have for your involvement in your group this fall? What is the one thing you most hope will happen in your life personally because of the time you're going to spend with these people that you're linking up with in this group? And the third question, again, a little bit a more serious question. What would you need to know, or what do you want to know, or what kind of environment do you need to be in to feel like that's a place in a group where you can be genuinely vulnerable? And so those are our 3 jumping off questions for our first video. Hope you guys are having some great group meetings. Well, hope you guys will have a great group meeting tonight, and that you're going to have an excellent fall together. I'll see you Sunday, if not before.